Hello, good morning. Oh, sorry. Good evening, actually.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe we can start
Oh, it's okay.
5 minutes again, Mr. Vincent.
Sure,
Okay.
no problem. Hang on, I'm just gonna mute my phone. I'll be back. Give me 2 minutes. 1 minute, actually. All right. I'm back.
Oke, selamat malam Bapak Ibu sekalian. Ya, kita senang sekali bisa berkumpul pada malam hari ini. Perkenalkan saya dengan Dr. Anton Wardaya, mungkin ada yang baru join ya. Jadi nanti akan di sini kita akan mengikuti Ielts online workshop, especially in speaking, yang akan dibawakan oleh Mr. Vincent Gunawan ya. Beliau adalah pemegang sertifikat IELTS score-nya 8.5 from maximum is 9.0, and then he study in Canada too. Yeah. Okay, maybe I share screen about what they call it. Yeah. Okay. Kita ada Wardaya College sendiri mempunyai kelas namanya kelas profesional. Ya.
Kakak perasaan terus
Wardaya College sendiri mempunyai kelas profesional yaitu digital marketing, data science, artificial intelligence, finance, actuarial science, entrepreneurship dan innovation. Ya, dan terus sesudah itu kami bulan Agustus dan September ini kami mengadakan namanya Wardaya Education Expo ya, yang akan dihadiri oleh 50 universitas lebih dari luar dan dalam negeri, dan sudah terdaftar 10.000 peserta ya, dan ini kesempatan untuk bagi kita semua siswa-siswi untuk meraih beasiswa 100% dari universitas terbaik dunia, dan pendaftarannya bisa di Linktree Wardaya Expo secara online. Dan ini adalah universitas admission office yang akan menghadiri Wardaya Education Expo langsung, seperti dari University of Cambridge, NUS, NTU, Kyoto, HKUST, dan lain-lain. Ya. Dan ini silakan diikuti, dan ini adalah dari berbagai universitas, termasuk dari sharing alumni ya, termasuk dari University of Toronto, yang akan sharing bagaimana cara masuk ke University of Toronto. Ya, dan ini adalah jadwal yang akan dihadiri dari University of Univ ya, seperti ini, dan terus ini adalah seperti ini ya, ini adalah setiap univ seperti ini, dan terus ini kami membuka Wardaya Education Consulting Agency ya, dan kami sudah punya namanya Wardaya Toastmaster Club ya. Oke, dan ini adalah pengurusan dokumen juga bisa melalui Wardaya sekarang ini, ya, dan kita membuka Wardaya Toastmaster Club, yaitu klub berbahasa Inggris, di mana bisa nanti terhubung dengan Toastmaster Club lainnya, seperti dari MIT, Harvard, Cambridge, dan lain-lain, ya. Dan ini kami di Wardaya Education Expo, itu ada, selain itu ada open house dari tiap departemen menghadirkan dan menghadirkan para ilmuwan dari masing-masing bidang, ya, yaitu termasuk dari Dr. Sandoko Kosen yang akan membawakan tentang quantum physics dan lulusan dari Oxford University, dan selain itu ada dari data science. Data science itu dari Gojek, ya. Nanti silahkan bisa diikuti. Terus sesudah itu ini ada open house SMA Wardaya. Selain itu ada pelatihan olimpiade juga untuk guru, siswa, dan murid, ya, guru, siswa, dan pemerhati pendidikan. Dan ini kami membuka kelas IELTS untuk bulan Agustus ini, yaitu mulai tanggal 9 Agustus, ya, yang akan nanti di pengajarnya itu adalah Mr. Vincent sendiri ya. Terus dan itu adalah yang kedua adalah HSK Mandarin persiapannya, yaitu Pak Stefanus, ya, itu beliau adalah pemegang HSK 6 dan pernah studi di China. Dan ini kalau Bapak Ibu ingin terkoneksi dengan kami, silakan Bapak Ibu silakan menghubungi nomor sekian. Ya. Oke, terima kasih Bapak Ibu untuk waktu dan tempat. Saya persilakan Mr. Vincent untuk memperkenalkan diri, dan silakan di online workshopnya langsung dimulai. Terima kasih.
So, good evening, everybody. My name is Vincent. I hope you can hear me. If you have any questions, just raise your hand. I think I can see your notification here, or just cut me off. It should be fine. Can you all hear me, by the way? Am I audible? Yep. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Christopher. Appreciate it. All right. So my name is Vincent Gunawan. I'm currently here in Toronto. I'm studying in Seneca College. This is my second school, actually. I had my bachelor degree in accounting back in 2016 from Texas A&M University in Texas. And I'm currently studying business analytics here at Seneca College. So, well, I'll be helping you, I believe, for any questions? No? Okay. All right. So I'll be helping you guys in preparing for the Ielts. And I just want to get a good picture, if I may, here. How many of you are taking Ielts or taking TOEFL in the next 6 months? Any response to that? Okay, I see 1, 2, 3 hands being raised, 4, and 5. Oh, okay. So you guys are planning to take it in, okay. Is that TOEFL or IELTS? Oh, my mistake. Yeah, TOEFL or IELTS. Yeah, IPT TOEFL. Take IELTS. Ooh. Hi, Matthew. Thank you. Okay. All right. All right. Let's just talk about IELTS first. The IELTS, if you're taking IELTS, so there are two routes. There are academic and there are general. And I suppose if you're going to college, you should be taking the academic. There shouldn't be any difference between academic and the general ones, especially in the speaking part, because during speaking part, what you need to do is having conversations with the interviewer. And first of all, what you need to do is just be comfortable and be mindful of your time. There are a lot of ways to practice. You can try talking to your friends, and with me, actually, you can try to have a conversation with me and have a lot of conversation in regards to the question itself. And what you need to do first off is practice. Don't forget to practice in IELTS itself and in TOEFL. You just have to practice, do a lot of practice, and be comfortable, and just don't worry about the preparation, because a lot of repetition would actually do the job. And just don't stress about it. Enjoy it, because the speaking part actually was you're going to be using for the next for the rest of your life, because you have to convey your message to people in some ways in the next future. So don't worry about it. Just have a lot of practice. And for today, we're speaking about the speaking part. And let's see. I'm sorry if I sound nervous, but I shouldn't. This is my first time teaching, so don't worry. I'll help you. Let's see. What else do we need to talk about? Hang on. Give me 1 second. Let me open my notes here. Okay. Let's keep it casual. Do you guys have any questions about your IELTS preparation or TOEFL? Oh. No? We're good? No? Okay, thank you, Ashlyn. Does accent matter in the speaking part? No, to be honest, no. I've heard people with a lot of different accents speaking. The only point is, okay, Afif, I'll get back to you. Give me 1 second. The only problem is accent doesn't actually matter, because as long as your message is clear, the accent doesn't matter. The only problem is when, for example, when the interviewer asks you, like, okay, Christopher, where do you come from? Or which area do you come from, actually? And then you're not answering his question. That's the problem. So the accent actually doesn't really matter. The part of you conveying the message or where you're coming from is the problem. And I'll come back to Afif first. Afif, you wanna unmute yourself? No problem, Christopher. And we have Camilla now. Okay, Afif. Okay, I'll get back to you. Okay, there is let's try Camilla first. Camilla, you want to try? Camilla? Okay.
Okay. Okay. Now it's fine.
Oh yeah, okay, I can hear you. Hi.
Okay. Hello.
Hi, Afif. How are you?
Okay. Quite good actually. Okay. Maybe as first I will ask some question regarding the difference of the type of IELTS.
Okay. I believe there are two of them. There are academic and there is a general one.
Not that one, not the type, but the what I should say. The method
Topics?
in the computer one and the paper one.
Oh, okay. Well, I personally took the computer one, computer based. And I think the only difference would be when it's paper, you just have to write it. For this writing part, you actually have to write, and for the reading part, it's a fill in. It's not fill in the blanks. You actually have to, shape the answer. That's what I know.
Okay.
But it's been a while. But yeah, if you're comfortable with the writing part, yeah, we'll make sure to keep that in check, and we'll try to provide you with the paper-based questions so that you get comfortable. Because but you just have to note that and let the college know.
Okay. But
Mhm.
how about the speaking part? Is there any
It shouldn't be
difference?
different. It shouldn't be different because it shouldn't be different. In IPT TOEFL, you'll be talking to a computer, and you'll have the set of questions that you have to explain. And in the IELTS part, in the general, you have to talk to a person. So and I think they give you a little piece of paper about your topic, and you just have to do the talking.
Okay, so for the type of the IELTS,
Pas IELTS-nya sih ini beda tidak?
pardon?
I'm sorry, I missed that part. I think. Can you repeat that?
Pak Wardaya, IELTS.
All right, I'll come back to you.
Yeah, okay.
We good?
Okay, so okay, so what type of IELTS only? What type of IELTS in the speaking part only requires speaking with real human, right?
Yeah,
okay.
for IELTS, yeah, I mean, yeah, you're talking to an actual person.
Okay.
It's a lot more relaxed
Okay.
because you can actually see their facial expression, so you know where you need to take the conversation.
Okay.
But
yeah, thank you for the
No.
confirmation. I think
no problem.
I need to
Okay, let me go to Camilla real quick.
Okay.
Okay.
Good night.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello, sir. Sorry. Hello.
No problem. Yeah, I can hear you. No problem.
Okay. Sorry, but I am the beginner of the IELTS, so I have a question that
Sure.
is the IELTS have syllabus or maybe in Indonesian language call it kisi-kisi? Yes, and where can I get that? Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you for your question. Well, I don't think they have a syllabus per se, but what we do have is a set of practice questions that you can actually learn from. So for the speaking part, they're usually asking about a few sets of questions that if you want to try that on, that could be helpful for your process. And I heard that you're in the beginning process, so that's good. But it's a lot of practice usually, Camilla. for IELTS itself is you shouldn't stress yourself. Don't worry. It's just a lot of practice, and we'll try to give you a set of questions for the speaking. And well, you can try talking to a mirror, for example, and yeah, we'll try to make sure you get the questions. And when are you planning to take the IELTS? Was it 6 months?
Yeah.
In between 6 months? Okay.
Sorry.
Are you planning to take the IELTS
So,
during the 6 months? This is August.
sorry, Mr. Vincent.
Yeah.
Can you repeat your remarks, because in here your voice, it's not clear.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Oh, so for the kisi or the syllabus itself, there isn't any kisi, but we'll make sure that the set of questions for the speaking, the speaking topic are usually very common, and they're usually repetitive, and we're gonna try to make sure we interview you just as if you were in that interview room. And for the questions itself, we'll try to prepare the topics, and then you can try talking to yourself or talking to a mirror and making sure you're comfortable with the answers. And for the speaking, if you feel like for the speaking itself, it's better if you technically do not lie. If you are comfortable with your answers, if you're planning to tell your side of the story, that's good. But if you're not comfortable in sharing that part, you can make up some stories and it should be fine. But the idea is to be comfortable and be mindful about your time, because they could cut you off if you go over time. But we'll prepare some questions, and you can try to answer those questions in your own time. And you have, if you want to have some talk, that could be useful too for you, and that should be fine by me. Sounds good.
Okay, Mr. Vincent. Yes.
Okay.
I understand. Thank you for the information. Thank you.
Well, thank you for the questions. Okay, I'm gonna go to the chat real quick. We have questions from number 101. What's this? How do I do this? Okay, Akas Laka. Full name. Thank you for being here. Thank you for having me. How did your practice before during paper camp? All right. Any tips? Any tips for 01 Akaslaka? So don't call me crazy, but when I was practicing for my speaking test, I was talking to myself. I was talking to a mirror every time so I knew the questions, right? I told you already. There is a set of questions. There's a set of topics that you can follow. So for example, they will ask, okay, explain to me where the area you're currently living. And I would say to them, hey, yeah, I'm currently living in an apartment. I'm looking at beautiful houses all day, and I have a neighbor who has 3 dogs, and they're very loud in the morning. But usually, it's a very quaint area, and yeah, and what I did was I was just trying to talk to myself every day, and then try to build up questions from my own answers, because actually that happened during the interview, during the speaking part. The lecturer actually asked me about where I live, and there was some build up questions from that, and I was preparing for it. And to be honest, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna lie to you, but I did lie. I did make up some stories about about the dogs and about everything, but I was comfortable because I knew the premises of my topics. So because I practiced, I think I spoke to myself for like 30 minutes every day, and tried to make sure that my grammar was correct, tried to make sure that my punctuations or my pronunciation was correct. That was helpful. But to be honest, I think the most important part was being comfortable in your answers. Because when you look at the person and their facial expression change, it it could rattle you a little bit, but when you have practiced a lot, it shouldn't. And that's why I'm here. You shouldn't worry about what their facial expression or what their next question should be. You just have to make sure that you're comfortable and you're ready for the next response, whatever it may be. So yeah, for 01 ACA, try to I'm not sure if Wardaya is gonna provide the questions for now, but I'll try to set it to you guys if it's possible, and you can try answering those questions first, and answering it loudly, and then try to practice during your morning commute or during your breaks. Try to answer that, and you should be able to tackle that part. It shouldn't be too difficult, so don't worry about it. Okay. And from May, there is any special tips for IELTS? How do you prepare for the test? A lot of I set up 2 hours every day to practice for the whole test. Actually, there were speaking, reading, listening, and writing. So for those three, I could handle it because I could double check the answers technically. And for the writing part, it's a bit tricky because you need someone to double check your grammar. But there are some apps, for example, like Grammarly, where you can copy and paste your response and make sure that your grammars are correct, and make sure your punctuations and there is no run-in sentence and all that. And that helps. That helps for your preparation. But anyway, setting up a set amount of time every day, doing the test from beginning to end, it's good. You'll be able to get a feel of how tiring the test will be, and when you actually when you're actually taking the test, it shouldn't be a problem. All right, I'm coming back to the screen. Okay, Budi, you can go first.
Okay, Vincent. Hi.
Hi.
It's good to have you.
Well, thank you. Good to have you back.
Yes, my question is about the pace during the speaking session test. There's some.
Sorry about that.
Yes. May I continue? Just continue. Vincent, you have to open your microphone. I think.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So my question is about the pace of speaking, because usually during the IELTS speaking session test, as you can hear now, my pace is very, very slow. So because I need to think first before I speak or I give an answer to the guy who tests the speaking. And is it important to try to speak fast, or is it more important to speak in a good pronunciation and give the best vocabulary and so on and so forth? What do you think about that? Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your questions. Let me answer that real quick. So no, the pace of your speaking pace it's not a problem in my opinion. What you need to do and you need to make sure is your answers are actually accurate in terms of what they're asking. So if they were to ask you, tell me about yourself, as long as you answer those questions, it should be fine.
Okay.
But you should be able to realize that based off those questions, they will ask you more stuff. So for example, if they were to ask you, okay, Budi, so tell us about yourself, and you will say, I don't know, I'm just making up stories right now, okay? So yeah, I'm Budi, I'm 25 years old. I'm currently studying at Wardaya. I'm learning about quantum physics, for example. And then they will ask you back like, oh, interesting. What do you like about quantum physics? Do you get to talk about it a lot? And then, oh yes, actually, I do. I have a YouTube channel where I talk to my subscribers. where I explain about the theories of quantum physics. I have a few episodes already, and I have quite a number of subscribers, and I'm happy about it because that's a topic of my interest. And they will ask, oh, that's interesting. So why do you choose YouTube, not Twitch, for example? Oh, yes, because YouTube actually have a platform that is very easy and accessible to people. And although it's not, although I don't have a lot of subscribers, but I'm getting more views by the day. So you see, it's not about the speed, but as long as you answer you have an accurate and accurate response to whatever question they have, as that's more important. And the vocab, no, it's good to drop in a few good vocabs, interchangeably at some time, but it's not that important in my opinion, as long as you convey your message. So don't worry about it, but prepare, because as I mentioned to Camilla earlier, there is a set of topics, and make sure you cover those topics and make sure there are additional questions along with those topics, and you should be fine. Don't worry about the timing, because they actually have I think they have a stopwatch, in my opinion, if I remember correctly. They have a stopwatch timing you, and they don't usually use it unless they feel that you go way over time. But they will cut you off. So don't worry. Just make sure you get your response correct first in the beginning. So don't worry about it.
Okay, great.
Be fine.
Okay. Thank you, Vincent.
No problem. No problem. Okay. The next one, we have Christopher, and we have Marie Samantha afterwards.
Hello, is my voice
Hi,
clear?
Christopher. Yes, very clear.
All right.
Hi,
So I just
Christopher.
want to ask, for IELTS, right? We're asked to use like complex sentences and we need to elaborate more. And is it the same for speaking? Do we need to elaborate more? Or for example, if I'm asked, like, what's my hobby? Should I just give a short sentence? For example, I like to play games, or should I really elaborate, like which games and stuff like that?
That's good. Good question. You should elaborate, but not too much, because you will want them. You want to give them the opportunity to ask you more questions. So, for example, as you mentioned, you like games. So if they were to ask, okay, Christopher, what's your hobby? Oh, I like playing games. I like PS4 games. I like action games. I play Call of Duty a lot with my friend, and it's very liberating because I get to talk to my friends during the games, and yeah, that's why I enjoy it. And then they will ask more about it. Oh, that's cool. So who do you play with? Actually, they won't say that's cool, but in real life they would. But anyways, they would say, okay, well, so who do you play with? And then you have to explain a little bit more. Oh yeah, a couple of friends that I met from the internet, and a couple of my school friends. And they will ask you more. And usually when you elaborate, make sure that it's an interesting topic. So it's gonna be a back and forth conversation, and it's not a dead end answer. So if it's a yes or no, you should definitely explain a little bit, because you don't want to just ask them, do you have hobbies? Yes. And then that's it, silence in the room. You don't want that, because you have to be able to explain a little bit and try to help them to hook more questions out of you.
Right.
So just keep it simple and keep it give them a little bit of elaboration. Describe a little bit about your hobbies, for example. Give them a few examples, but not too much, not too little, just enough. The thing is about IELTS speaking is, don't worry too much. You don't have to actually mention 3 examples exactly. Even 2 is fine. If it's natural, if it's normal, 2 is fine. Because they're not really trying to. This is not a writing test. You don't actually have to provide your reasoning. Why is this better than that? A, B, C. You just have to be able to speak. This is not a TOEFL test. If it's a TOEFL test, you'll have to be able to explain nicely your topics. But this is not a TOEFL test. Excuse me. If it's TOEFL, you'll have to explain your answers clearly. This is not it. For IELTS, I believe I've taken both. And for IELTS, I think it's more natural because, you talk to people. Okay, so don't worry.
So the questions in
Yeah.
the speaking part, it's the follow-up question is
Sure.
connected with the previous one. So
Mhm.
they don't have like a scripted question that they're going to ask us.
No, usually no. For IELTS, the question. I mean, they have a set of questions, a set of topics in the beginning. So and then they will expand off that. So if you're asking, I mean, if you're telling me about your hobbies, now I'm gonna ask you like, oh, okay. So who do you play with? And then you have to explain that you have friends all over the city, and then you have friends all over the internet, and you can tell me about it. And then if I feel that if that topic is dead, technically, you can't ask more questions out of that topic, I'll move on. They will ask you actually. I think they asked me once about why I'm taking this IELTS test. So that was interesting. It wasn't on the topic. So it's but don't worry about it. It's just talking to another person. They're not that crazy, I think, for IELTS. You don't have to worry too much.
Okay, thank
Don't
you sir,
stress
for the
about it.
answer.
Sure, no problem. All right, so Marie, Samantha, you're up.
So yes, I have a question regarding the speaking test.
Sure.
Like, what are we supposed to say when we are not familiar with the topic? Like, for example, something related with the government, and we have no clue on how to answer that.
Sure. Well, yeah, I had that experience too. They asked me whether students needs to learn science or not before they were 5. So there was that kind of question. And I know, coming back to Christopher again, you have to elaborate. So for example, if they were to ask, during this COVID times, do you agree with the government's action of locking down the city, for example? And then you have 30 seconds to think. So for example, it's a branch of decision 3, right? So you will say, is it either yes or no? Yes, I agree. Fine, you agree. Why do you agree? Well, lockdown save people because people are locked inside their homes. They can't go out, so the virus can't be spread. Second, the government provide us with the food anyway, and they're freezing all the bank payments that we need to do. Although that may be incorrect or inaccurate to the real life, but you're able to explain. But you have 30 seconds to making sure you have a decision 3, especially during an opinion part. It will be good. It'll help you. But yes, it'll be more helpful if you're comfortable with the topic. But if you're not, just say, let me see. Well, I do believe the government actually are doing the right thing by locking down the city, because in Jakarta, as we can see, there are a lot of cases, and since the lockdown, people are not able to go out, and since the government are providing us with food and with all the bare necessities that we need, and including freezing all the bank payments that we need to pay, there is no need for us to go to work or go to school. And therefore, we can keep the spreading of the virus at a minimal level, and therefore, while waiting for the vaccine, and therefore, diminishing the growth of the virus, and actually come out of this thing victorious. So something like that. But yeah, decision 3, and have your reasoning. Although that may not be true, it shouldn't be a problem as long as you're comfortable. You have 30 seconds to prepare.
All right, thank you very much.
Yeah, I wish you luck. Good luck. Don't worry, you should be fine, Samantha. Marie. All right, coming back to the chat real quick. We have Budi done, and we have Arjo, one more, and Naila. All right, let's go. We have Arjo. Arjo, you want to unmute?
Yeah, so basically
Yeah.
the question is when you are at your downtime, meaning that you have no one to practice with, So
Yes.
either you're on maybe on the transit or maybe on a bus or somewhere, right?
Mhm.
What you should do to keep practicing? Do you listen to podcasts maybe and try to pick up new words or try to at least understand what it's talking about, or maybe watching a movie and see if there is something that you can follow through, or maybe read a book. And specifically with the reading the book, how can you tell if your pronunciation is correct? Do you or should you read the words loudly, meaning that you can hear the words, right? If you hear the word while you're talking, then you can tell if you're talking like native, let's say native English or native American, something like a more like a local people, right? Or you're speaking like person from Java or from Sunda, from whoever, right? How do you feel about that?
Okay. Well, Arjo, something that I can tell you right off the bat is you're comfortable with the speaking part. You shouldn't worry about that. In terms of practice, yes, if you can pronounce it loudly, that's better because that means at least to the very least, if it's not correct, you're comfortable and you're confident. So again, the speaking part it's not about sounding like another accent or something else, but as long as you're comfortable and they can understand you, that's good. And if you want to learn about the things that you mentioned are actually very good, excuse me, very good recommendations. Because for the reading part, yes, reading books would be nice because it'll train you, it'll train your mind to actually read. Because the reading part actually was, I think, 1.5 pages long, and especially it's about a topic that you don't usually see in a normal life unless you love. My topic was, I think, asphalt. So I don't read about asphalt at all, but I understand the idea of finding the correct response to my questions. So that was okay. But by reading, you'll train yourself just to technically tire yourself, be comfortable with that area, having those tiny words, and then just read and try to pick the right information out of it. So that's good. Yes, reading news would be helpful, but reading scientific report would be much better in my opinion. But reading itself, just by the definition of reading, it's good to train you because you're ready. When you see those 2 pages up on the screen, you should be fine because you're comfortable already. So that's one. And then for the listening, if you were to listen to podcasts, yes, that'll be very helpful. But depending on the podcast you're listening to, if it's in general, podcast itself is very, very useful because podcasts help you to actually have a conversation with someone in your future when you actually I'm not sure what your main goal is, but whatever future you have, you'll have to talk to someone, and those people in podcasts are usually talking to someone, so that's good. If it's an interview kind of thing, that's good. You'll be able to know what to respond, your timing, and how long you should respond. So that's good. So don't worry about it. But for in terms of what's this called, IELTS, make sure that there are a lot of podcasts out there talking about IELTS. So try to listen to those conversations because I believe the listening part contains some material about some conversations about people asking for directions. So where is the nearest hospital? Oh, okay, you go south 500 meters, turn right, and then there is a red house on the left. You turn left over there. So, directions. If it's in the podcast, it's good for you to be ready, be comfortable with different accents because you don't know what kind of accents you're gonna get on the day of the test. So make sure you're comfortable, and that's good. For the speaking, yeah, practice during your commute. Make sure you have your timer on because usually a topic is about a minute long. You have 30 seconds to prepare and then 1 minute to answer. They will say that to you at the beginning. So Arjo, I'm going to ask you about what you do for a living, for example, and you have 30 seconds to prepare and 60 seconds to answer. So make sure you have your timer on open your phone, have a timer, and then answer accordingly. So you don't have to be exactly at 60 seconds, but it's good that you know, you have a good picture of where 1 minute it actually is. Okay, did I answer your question?
Yeah, so specifically for a book you mentioned earlier, a few examples, but
Sure.
how about like a standard literature, English literature? I'm just picking up out of example here. For
Sure.
example, English literature, Emily Bronte's, or maybe if it's American, maybe Tom Sawyer or something like that. Do we need to go that far, or is it something like a Harry Potter is sufficient? Because I know with heavy reading, not only you are forced to learn new words, but they are also difficult words that normal or people that don't use that don't use normally use. So would that put you into an advantage, because then you're going to be maybe sound kind of fancy, but maybe it's going to be a plus for you, because then the other side of the table then know that, okay, you know this advanced word. So I don't know if that makes any advantage or making any sense at all for the term, in terms of this score.
Well, let me tell you this: the literature will help you because you're used to it by that time, I suppose. And if you are, that'll be nice. But I guess there is some time constraint usually, and I don't think many people will have the time to review all kinds of literature, or for example, reading a full Harry Potter books. But it's good to have those in mind. If you have the time during your commute, go ahead and try to read it, because it will help your vocab. You're right. It's not wrong, but it's not the main focus, especially when we're talking about the goals here in this course. There are two things that you should keep in mind. One is to make sure that you understand English itself, or two, if it's about passing the IELTS exam with good score. With good score, you don't need that. You can. It's good additional material, absolutely, but you don't need it. It's not actually necessary to have those material on hand, because it's not going to be that complicated, to be honest. They have a lot of readings about history and science. I think history and science, those are the two main topics, because two are concrete. And during a test, they don't really want to question you about something that's opinionated. But yeah, reading those would be helpful. If you have some time, go ahead and review it. The Tom Sawyer would be more helpful. Excuse me. Oh, my eyes. Okay. I hope I answered your question.
Good for now. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. We have Naila. Okay, Naila, do you have any tips? Do you have any tips in order to get a good score in IELTS? Repetition and a lot of practice. The first thing I think that you can nail down would be the listening part, because the listening is usually very clear, so you don't have to worry. And there's a lot of practice, online practice that you can try, and there is the answer part afterwards. So you can make sure the listening is usually about 2 minutes, 2 or 3 minutes, something like that, 2 or 3 minutes, and then you get a set of questions, and then you have to answer them. And you can double check your answer afterward, just to make sure that you're in the right path. And the most difficult part for me was the writing, because it was very difficult for someone to double check my writing. So I, as I mentioned earlier, I checked it with Grammarly, just to make sure that the sentence and the formation is good, although the context itself is pretty difficult to measure. For self-evaluation, it's pretty difficult, because you want someone to actually check it for you. But in terms of the test itself, make sure that when you do a practice run for the whole exam, the whole section, like speaking, listening, reading, and speaking, listening, reading, and what's the other guy? Writing. Make sure you do whole set, and then see where you're actually lacking. So after a few tries, you will be able to see, okay, my listening is actually not that good. You tweak that part, you make sure you listen to more listening part and just try to keep it up and see where your actual mistakes are. I believe the difficult part in IELTS was the true and false. The true and false was actually pretty tricky. So if you're comfortable with that part, that's good. If you're not, let's try find more true or false questions. That will help you and see if that can improve your score by a little bit. And then do it all over again. And one more thing that I remember, thank you for asking this, was the speaking part different between one student to another. I had my speaking part first, and then I had my listening, listening, writing, speaking after. Sorry, listening, writing, and reading afterwards. Some students got their speaking first. So try to make sure when you take the test, first you can have the speaking, and then at the second test, maybe you have a speaking last. So get comfortable. Okay, try to do a lot of practice runs. You should be able to manage that. And then Rafaela, most asked questions. In terms of speaking, they will definitely ask you about who you are, and that's a very tricky too. They will ask you, so Rafaela, so what do you do? If you are a student, they will ask you about, okay, so what's your plan afterwards? If you're planning to take, okay, I want to learn about quantum physics at NTU in Singapore. That's interesting. Why do you pick NTU? So there is a set of questions that they will ask, just like a normal person, just like how I would ask you why you pick NTU over NUS, for example. Okay, it shouldn't be don't you worry too much, but prepare for additional questions. You should be able to handle it. And Warren, permission to ask how to keep motivation during, when you're studying for IELTS. Well, for me, I only had, I think 30 days to prepare because I wanted to submit this score for my visa application. So I had that motivation. But for you, you have to ask yourself, what's your goal? Why do you want to take it during this next 6 months? Or, maybe next year? Because sometimes rushing it doesn't help. If you feel like you should know your timing, why you plan to take this IELTS, for example. And when you have your own motivation, try to find that answer. Why do you want to do that? Is it the grade, or is it actually you want to learn? There are two different things, because you could definitely get a good score without studying, because there is a set of answer that you can just technically expand to. But I don't think that's the plan for everyone here. You guys, I'm pretty sure you guys are very smart, and why not learn the actual thing while you're here? But it shouldn't bother you that and it shouldn't worry you. IELTS is the least of your problem. So make sure you're prepared with everything else, and then IELTS is your go-to. Take IELTS as your your leisure time learning. So it's something that you just learn because you're trying to get away from something else. So for example, if you're learning about physics, you're tired about physics, now you study about IELTS and talk about something else. Talk about your day, talk about your the area that you live, your favorite food, your favorite path, favorite topics, why you pick this school over that school. They will ask you that. And in real life, you'll have to be able to answer those kind of questions. Okay. Do I have Vito trying to talk? No? Okay. All right. Ashlyn, do we need to do any essay or writing on IELTS? Yes, you actually do. There is one part writing of the 4 parts: speaking, reading, writing, and writing. But I'm not sure which of the combination you're gonna get first. But you do have to do a lot of writing. And I think there were 2 topics on the writing itself. One is, it depends. Again, it's not, this is not a fixed formula. But yeah, there were two topics, either choosing A or B and why, and then give your opinions about a certain issue. Okay, next question. Dr. Anton, can you algebra? You can ask. Okay, speaking. Any tips for speaking to not get nervous? Yes, do a lot of practice, and again, make sure you're comfortable with speaking, because when you're actually speaking, you can try talking to me and turn on your video and try talk to me looking into my eyes. See if you got nervous, because they will look at you. You can't run away. So talk to your parents, talk to your friends, talk to your brothers and sisters, siblings, even talk to a mirror, because you'll be able to see yourself. And try to do a lot of practice, because again, as I mentioned, if you're comfortable with one topic, and make sure you don't, okay, this is very important in my opinion, do not memorize your answer. Do not memorize those good vocab that you're trying to drop in between your conversation. Try to keep it natural. Try to keep it relaxed. Because if you're trying to memorize and you slip
Mau dengar nggak IELTS, Po?
just by one word, it'll be dangerous, because you'll get nervous really quickly. I can tell you that. So don't try to memorize. Just try to keep it natural. Okay. All right. Cursio.
Mr. Vincent, maybe if you have any question, you can ask to Mr. Vincent directly.
Yeah, directly. That'll be useful actually.
And then
Yeah, you're right.
if you want to use bahasa Indonesia, is okay gitu loh. Jadi Pak Vincent akan itu ya. Pak Vincent orang Indonesia juga kok, tenang aja. Kayak gitu, ya.
I am actually.
Tapi sekarang tinggalnya di Kanada ya. Jadi di sana lagi pagi, Bapak Ibu, ya. Oke.
Yes, actually, I would encourage that if you have if you want to ask your questions, if you want to raise your hand, be comfortable, because you'll have to talk to someone. And that could be your next interviewer. Who knew, right? So just raise your hands, and I'll come back to you real quickly. Okay, I have Camilla, and I'll come back to you, Camilla. 1 second. I have Michiko, is it?
Yes.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks.
So, what kind of questions do you have?
Is it okay if we just practicing our English by like talking to our kind of imaginary friends kind of thing?
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that question. My internet is pretty horrible. Do you mind repeating that?
Is it okay if we practicing our English with like our imaginary friends or something kind of like that?
Yeah, I can tell you that. Yeah, I was talking to myself for 30 minutes during my ride. So I was the interviewee and interviewer at the same time. And that's good, because you technically know you're preparing yourself to be questioned and preparing the answers yourself. And it comes back to the point of being comfortable. So you don't have to worry if you're talking to a mirror or imaginary friends or actual friends. It's a conversation. And just imagine that you're asking people some questions about their hobbies, their favorite food. It shouldn't be a problem, but you should practice. That's what I can tell. I mean, doing a lot of repetition actually helps, and do not memorize your answer, as I mentioned earlier. Just keep on talking. You should be fine. So don't worry. Okay. Okay.
But it's kind of hard, because like I really easily got really nervous when talking to people. Sometimes even people that I knew, I am even nervous talking to them. So it's hard to go interview.
Well, the first step, to be honest, I believe, is to get you the topic, and then we will let you answer those kind of topics. And then when we actually go to class, I will try to expand from those topics, and you can practice again. the first part is we need to get you the topics, and then you try to answer it yourself. Okay. But you shouldn't worry. Don't worry. Don't worry about it too much. I can't mention this enough. This test is not meant to destroy your life or anything. This test is just another requirement to go to university or just to test yourself. So don't beat yourself too hard for it. Okay, you'll be all right. I can tell you that. Don't worry about it. The interviewer is not there to to mess with your life. They're there to help you. They will usually help you with, especially with hooking more questions out of you. So you don't have to worry. I know you're nervous. I am too, actually. I'm shaking, but yeah, don't worry. You should be fine. Okay. Camila, you're up.
Okay, Mr. Vincent, thank you for second change. I have yeah, okay. I have many of questions, which is first, can you explain of the IELTS form or types? Because when I search on the internet, social media, or another resource, IELTS have many types, like IELTS academic or IELTS blah blah blah, that I don't really understand about that. The second question is when and where can I where the IELTS test hold in Indonesia? And last question is what is the prices or what is the cost of many types of IELTS? Okay, thank you.
Okay. The easiest part I could tell you is for the test itself and for the pricing. 6 months ago when I took, no, not 6 months, 8 months ago when I took it, it was, I think, 3 million. So about 200, I think $250, if I remember correctly. But the price may change because there are a few places who offer it. I'm from Surabaya, so I'm not sure if any of you are from there or any of the speaking place that I have actually are available in Surabaya. But IELTS, IALF is one, and the other one is IBT. What is the British part? Man, I forgot about that name. I'll come back to you because that one is very. There are only 2 options in Surabaya, but I'm not sure about Jakarta. I'll try to look into it. I'll come back to you. But I guess the pricing itself depends, ranges between $250 to $300. That's one. And then for the IELTS test, from what I know, the place in Surabaya only offered two options. One is academic, one is the general. The only difference between the two is, I believe, the writing and the reading. So if you're talking about academic, that means you're planning to take this test score to your next college or something. So you'll be able to be tested in an academic manner. So your questions will be about science or about history or about the way you manage those tiring instructions from science perspective. But if it's in terms of speaking, they are the same. They're just going to ask you about your hobbies, your what you like, what kind of food. Why do you choose A over B? Why do you think this? Why do you think that? So first we have to establish is either does your school or your next program want to take the academic or the general? And I think there should be some requirements that you can look up. Okay. All right. I'll come back to Marie. Marie, you're up.
I'm just wondering, is it possible to get a high band score when we have a lot of pauses in our speaking?
It depends on why you're pausing, though. If it's if you're thinking about the answer, I think you should be fine. But if it's pauses because you're trying to construct your sentence, I think it's we can work on that. It's something that we can definitely work on. If it's a lot of umps, we'll have to remove that. We'll have to try to remove the umps. Like, let's see. Well, those kind of pauses, it's all right in a normal conversation, but try not to keep it. Try not to put in too much umps.
Oh, okay. I see. Thanks.
No problem. Okay, Samuel, you're up.
So, hello, Mr. Vincent.
Hi.
I'm wondering how about the complicated vocabulary and then the complex sentences and the use of idioms in IELTS speaking. Is it worth it to learn of that? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. As I mentioned, this IELTS test, it's just a requirement in your life. But those idioms, those complex sentences will be useful in your actual life in the future. So although it may not be perfect today, as of we're talking today, or maybe tomorrow during the test, but you should keep that in mind, because people will say those idioms to you, and people will give you complex sentences, and you have to comprehend and understand that. So it's good to learn. It's good to be aware that those kind of things exist. Try to keep it in mind and try to drop in a few of them if it's possible. But if it's not natural to you, do not try to do that. Because the problem is when you try to memorize things, for example, let's see, idioms. What do you have in mind? Give me idioms.
Something like when pigs fly.
Right. See? That's not natural for me. That's why it's not easy for me just to use it in a sentence. I can't give you just a sentence on the fly because of that. Because it's not natural to me. But if you are comfortable with that, go ahead. I will encourage you to do that. If you feel you can put it in any of the sentence that I'm probably gonna ask you, sure, go ahead. It'll be helpful. But if you're not comfortable, you don't have to try it. They're not gonna grade you based on how many idioms or how many complex sentences that you have. They're gonna grade you on how fluent, how easy the sentence come out of you, and whether your answer makes sense. Whether it's true or not, technically, right? It's an opinion. They will ask you about your opinion. It could be true, it could be wrong. For it could be true to you, wrong for me. So don't have to worry. Budi, you're up.
Okay, Vincent. Actually, my last IELTS test, I got 7.0. But in the speaking section, I only got 5.5. I don't know what happened actually. I think that I give my answer, and then the conversation is quite solid in my opinion. But I think that I have one critical weakness, which is my grammar is not very good. So what do you think, Vincent? Is it very important to have a correct grammar during the conversation? Because even in the real life, we have a chat with some friends from a native English speaking. They don't even use the correct grammar to have the conversation. So what do you think about it? Thank you.
No problem. So yeah, I can tell you that not every Canadian, American, or British person speaks in a right grammatical form 100% of the time.
True.
So that shouldn't be a problem to you. But I would love to know. I'd love to know more. Did they give you any feedback because after that? After the test or anything?
No, I don't think so. No. I think no. There is no feedback.
Okay, no matter. I guess we just have to do more practice, and we'll be able to grade it. And the grammar, it will be useful, especially when you're trying to explain, for example, what have you been doing in the past 3 months. It's useful to know which grammar to use because it's in past tense, present, or future tense. I'm not sure why they would grade you 5.5. You seem fine. It doesn't.
Yes.
Yeah, You're okay. We just have to practice a little bit more. Okay, don't worry.
Okay.
When are you planning to take it? Is it within 6 months too?
It's about a year ago, actually.
About a year ago. And
Yes.
are you planning to take another one?
Yes, because I have to get a minimum 6 on every section, so that's why
All right.
I have
Is it
to
in the next 6 months?
Yes, more or less 5, 6 months. Do you think I can get 6.0 in 3 months to come?
The problem is it's not about limiting yourself to 6.0 in my opinion.
Okay.
And just make sure you're comfortable. And I'm sure you can get much more than 6.0. Because I can tell you're fine. You're talking normally. I mean, your pace is fine. It's not to worry. But I would love to know more why. I'll try to ask you questions after this if you don't mind. We'll see. We'll see where we can improve. Okay. Don't worry. You'll be fine.
Thank you.
No problem. We have questions from Ega. If we speak too long, they have to cut us off. Does that reduce our points? Yes, that will reduce your points because, as I mentioned, you have to be mindful about your timings. If they were to ask you about your hobbies and you keep on talking for the next 4 minutes, it'll be way too long because you're not giving them time to interview you back. So you have to be mindful. Just 1 minute will be nice. 1 minute for a good solid answers with a few examples. It's nice to have that 1 minute limit so that they can ask you back. Because I can't remember exactly how many minutes they're gonna interview you for, but I can tell you that it's nicer to have someone to talk with. Okay. And Ratna, okay, sebaiknya berapa bulan sebelumnya sebelum tes? Well, it depends, Ratna. How comfortable kamu so far lebih comfortable sampai di sisi mana? Kalau dulu sudah pernah ambil Ielts, kita bisa lihat dari situ berapa nilai grade yang lama untuk kita improve di mana. Kalau misalnya ini pertama kali, kita sesuaikan dengan jadwal Ratna mau planning berikutnya apa. Misalnya untuk daftar sekolah next year, berarti memang by requirement memang harus diambil dalam 2 bulan ini. Soalnya deadline mungkin sekitar Oktober. Tapi if it's not, kalau misalnya planningnya masih tahun depan, lebih baik kita practice dulu. Nanti kita ambil trial test, baru Ratna beneran ambil yang actual testnya nanti sekitar sebulanan sebelum apply for your college atau for your school, for example. Okay. Hello, Lala. Let's see. I am wondering about how to improve my writing skills, trying to enlarge my vocabs. Okay. Well, yes, it's a very common, but you're one step closer, Lala. So when you're trying to improve your writing skills, it's good that you can already write certain things quickly. For example, if you know what you need to write already, that's good. On how to improve by reading, by what Arjo mentioned a few minutes ago, actually, when you read something, when you want to drop in those extraordinary vocab, it's just by practice because you cannot just shove that word into every sentence that you have. So you have to be prepared for a lot of scenarios when you actually can use the interesting vocab. But I can tell you are fine. You just have to practice a lot more and actually try to talk about different topics. If it's an opinion, if it's why you think this is better, comparison. And I can't remember the other one. There's another topic that you actually need to talk about. But yeah, there's another one. But I believe you are fine. You're on the right track. You just have to practice a little bit more with different topics. Okay, Lala, you should be fine. And then Ashlyn, same as Lala, tips on improve my my writing. Try to do a lot of practice, especially on different topics. and especially if it's the topic that you do not feel comfortable with. They will ask you about questions. Write an opinion. Why do you think car-free Sunday is good for the environment or not? Some people will say it's not. Some people will say it is very good for the environment. Why do you say so? So you start with that, generic. Yes, I do believe. Technically, it's a paragraph, but you explain. Yes, I believe this is good because the environment, and then I just hate cars technically, and then you have to explain of that. But be comfortable and do a lot of practice on very different topics. Okay, you should be okay. And then Daffy, I'd like to ask: is it appropriate to say I'm not quite familiar, but I'll try to explain? Yeah, that's actually all right. You're a person. You're not familiar with every topic that they have. I actually answered this for my speaking test. I did fine. So, but it's good. It's all right to mention this, Devi. Don't worry about saying that you're not familiar. Well, they were asking me about whether 5-year-olds should learn science. I do not have a kid, so I did answer I'm not quite familiar, but in my opinion, it was very good for children to learn about science because science actually teach you about structure and teach you about continuation, and that was good for them. So you just have to pick and choose why this is good if it's possible. Just try to find the generic substance of that topic and try to apply it to another course. Okay. And Aubrey, you've mentioned that you have taken both IELTS and TOEFL. Yes, I did. Which one do you suggest? And also, what is the difference? Okay. Well, my suggestion depends on the school of your choice. For example, American schools will be able to take more schools will take TOEFL. They're okay with TOEFL. More Commonwealth countries will be more okay with IELTS. And they're practically the same in terms of speak. Hi. In terms of speaking, for my experience with TOEFL, I was talking to a computer, so I don't know how they would respond. And I felt more comfortable in my IELTS, to be honest, for the speaking part, because I enjoy talking to people and I actually can see them. It's a lot easier for me to know the response on how I could tweak my answers in the next question. But for TOEFL itself, it's technically the same. They're not that different. Their structure of answer are usually the same. And I did answer with TOEFL structure for my IELTS. Because in terms of everything, right, they just want to make sure that you understand what they're asking for. So it's the same. And it again, coming back, tying it back to your question, it depends on what kind of school or what kind of education you're trying to go next. If you're trying to go to US universities or college, they would prefer TOEFL and SATs. So, and if you were to go to Canada like me, IELTS is more preferable. Okay, and then Arjo, is it a correct statement that IELTS speaking test part is like a job interview in English, telling yourself, well, actually, yeah, they could. It's like a job interview. You're right, but it's more in a more relaxed, casual way. For me, the IELTS speaking test is like talking to a professor. You don't have to be correct, but it's good that you can engage with them, and they could engage with you back. But it seems like a job interview, isn't it? Yeah, you're right. And then Matthew Kevin, during the speaking examination, what should I do if I make a mistake? Or should I correct or leave it? Well, it depends on what kind of mistake you can call it a mistake. You can just call it an ums. It should be, you shouldn't worry too much when you're speaking, right? Even when I'm speaking to, I know I've made a few grammatical errors, and I don't stop and correct my grammar. I just try to fix it on the next step. And you should too. So it depends on your mistake. Again, if you just feel you used the wrong vocab, if you wanted to say oh, maybe cars are bad for the environment, and you, sorry, that's not a good example. So for example, no, children should not learn about science before the age of 5. Oh, I'm sorry, what I meant was um, they should learn about science. My mistake. And then you continue on. So it depends. And if it's word grammatical, try to improve afterwards. Whatever has passed, it's all gone. As long as it doesn't change the substance of your answer, you shouldn't fix it. It should be fine. I hope I had answered your question, Matthew. If you have following questions, do raise your hand.
Maybe this is the question from Clarissa.
Clarissa, yes.
Vincent, what are your teaching methods that will you use in class? Usually, what is the minimum score to be qualified to get a certificate or pass the test for IELTS? Do personality or character that we bring to the conversation counts in speaking tests?
As long as you're comfortable. If it's your normal self to talk like that, be comfortable. Because you don't want to change to a British accent just to make sure you comply to the British person who's interviewing you. You shouldn't do that. If you have an accent just like me, use your accent. It should be fine as long as you're comfortable. And in terms of requirements, minimum requirements, it depends on your goal. If you're going to a school, if you're applying for a visa, for Canadian visa like me. No, actually, why did I apply? I can't remember any. Anyways, for school, there should be a requirement. And then again, the thing about IELTS is, and about TOEFL, they have the bands, right? We know there is an actual score. So there is a way to measure your knowledge, and we can improve of that. If you, for example, if there is a student who mentioned that they have a low score in speaking, there's actually an explanation on the back page, I believe, of the result, saying that why, for example, this band 7.5 means this person, for example, have some grammatical errors. So that's a mistake. That's the thing that we can tweak, and that's the thing we can improve. That's the good thing about scoring. We can improve on some stuff, and they usually give us feedback on where we are, when we need to improve.
Okay. I think is the next. I think we can finish the session.
Sure.
This online workshop. Can we give emoji like applause or 2 thumbs up or yeah, something that yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Vincent, for your workshop. Yeah, this is so useful for us. Yeah, and then I think I want to share about ini ya, Wardaya Education Expo. This is Wardaya Education Expo yang diadakan di bulan Agustus September 2021 yang tadi mungkin Bapak Ibu belum dengar ya. Ini akan datang banyak universitas ya dan admission, dan mereka mendatangkan juga profesor-profesornya juga. Tadi sudah dibuka dengan oleh Ibu Kepala Dinas Pendidikan Jakarta Barat ya. Ibu Subaida. Terus, nah ini adalah dari Nanyang Technological University, langsung dengan Profesor Lydia hari Selasa ini akan datang ya dari NTU, itu ranking 12 dunia. Terus habis itu National University of Singapore will come juga, will join webinar from Office of Admission. Terus tadi in this evening, profesor dari Jepang juga datang, Kyoto University, Tohoku University will ada 7 profesor yang akan datang dalam Wardaya Education Expo ya. Jadi ini kesempatan yang luar biasa karena mereka menawarkan beasiswa penuh kepada anak-anak Indonesia. Nah, ini ada dari MIT juga, terus dari Harvard University welcome juga dalam Wardaya Education Expo, terus habis itu dari Monash University Australia, University of British Columbia welcome juga ya. Nah, terus HKUST, Chinese University of Hong Kong. Nah, ini adalah persyaratannya, mereka membutuhkan nilai IELTS ya. Jadi makanya, nah ini yang tadi datang adalah sekitar 1.100 orang ya, yang sudah join di webinar di Kyoto University. Sedangkan NTU itu sudah 800 orang yang nanti sudah daftar. Ya, ini kemarin saya baru dapat, tapi saya tadi lihat udah 800-an orang. Ya, ini termasuk yang penemu vaksin AstraZeneca ya, akan datang dalam webinar di Wardaya, yaitu Dr. Karina Jo ya. Oke, jadi silahkan dipergunakan kesempatan ini sehingga kalian bisa mendapatkan tentang bagaimana how you can get to the university, how you can get the scholarship like that. And then ini ya, nah makanya kita bikin tadi kita mulai start kelasnya itu di tanggal 9 August, and then Mr. Vincent will be a teacher for that class IELTS. Ya, and then HSK juga nanti Mr. Stefanus itu tanggal 9 juga akan mulai. Ya, oke. If you have any question, you can directly message to me ya. Jadi nanti bisa langsung terkoneksi ke Wardaya College, yaitu di sini. Ya, silahkan. Terus saya akan mencantumkan nomor ini saya nomor WA saya jika kalian saya dengan Dr. Anton Wardaya ya. Jadi if you have any question, you can ask me directly. Oke. Ya. Oke, terima kasih. Thank you so much Mr. Vincent ya for your workshop. Jadi silahkan mendaftar kelas IELTS ini dan kami tunggu, soalnya placement testnya diadakan hari Sabtu tanggal 7 Agustus ya, jam 9 pagi. Oke. Kiranya karena waktu sudah malam juga ya, kalau di Jakarta dan di Indonesia, kita tutup workshop ini. Terima kasih.
Well,
mungkin dari Pak Vincent silakan.
Yeah, sorry. I'm just trying to answer this person. Yeah. Well, thank you all for having me here. First of all, and I just want to say for Madeline, who's trying to improve your, regarding the test, make sure you try to read a lot of, try to familiarize yourself with a test setting. So make sure you read a lot of history. Although that's not your topic, that's good because during the test itself, it's usually not about your topic. So get used to it and then practice about your speaking. Try talking to your friends, your families, your brothers, sisters, and everyone, or even talking to us, in English, if you're comfortable with that. And you should be all right. So don't worry. But way to go for starting super early. And but thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Vincent. Okay, keep healthy, keep safety. Selamat malam, Bapak Ibu sekalian. God bless you all. Assalamualaikum.
Thank you. Have a good one. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Terima kasih, Pak.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye.
Yes. Okay. See you in Wardaya Education Expo 2.
See you.
Pak Anton, Pak Vincent.
Ya, sama-sama Ibu. God bless you all. Okay. Okay.
The numbers dwindle pretty quickly.
Thank you so much ya,
Thank you.
Pak Vincent ya. Oke, saya izin ini ya.